We have been walking through the who to, and why of exegesis, acknowledging that while very useful and necessary for understanding what Scripture actually has to say, there are more modern day applications for this practice than I have time to fit in this little video. And we have been pulling it apart. Last time we talked about the who. This week we're going to talk about the who to. So, quick reminder, this is asking yourself, who was the original speaker or communicator? Who were they saying it to originally, and why? Because all of those items are necessary to understand the genuine message at its original intent so that we can then apply it to our modern day circumstances. I gave you an example of who. I talked about how the New Testament is filled with books like First and Second Corinthians, Ephesians, Galatians, Thessalonians. These are all letters written by the Apostle Paul to churches that he planted in those towns. And so we needed to know that Paul was writing as a church planter. A lot of people, I was an adult convert, and I certainly made the argument, heard the argument that the Bible can't be valid because it contradicts itself. That's easy to see if you look at Corinthians and you look at Ephesians. However, when you understand not only that it was Paul, a church planter, writing, but who he was writing to, you start to see that it's not actually a contradiction. He's not saying things differently when you know who he's saying it to. I got 5 kids. 4 of them are boys. One of those boys is absolutely savage from birth, 10 toes down, 2 feet in, do not pass go, aggressive, assertive kind of guy. Another one who is gentle and loving, but quiet, shy, like inward focused. I take those 2 boys to a gathering of local youth so that they can make friends, right? And I toss them in and I see what's going on. I can promise you that when I speak to the savage, I'm going to be saying to him, dude, you got to like dial it back. Like you can't jump in and be all over the thing. Like let people come to you, right? Like it's wise to listen more than you speak and let people come to you. You don't want to scare them away. I'm going to speak to the same boy at the same gathering for the same reason, and I am going to tell him, buddy, you got to give people a chance to know you. Like, you got to jump in with both feet and say something. Involve yourself. Like, let them get to know who you are. You look at it on the surface, it appears that I am giving contradicting information to my boys about how to make friends at the same gathering. But when you know who I am speaking to, you recognize that I am actually saying the same thing to 2 kids that diverge from that point in different ways. Absolutely true of the Bible. Corinthians and Ephesians. Corinth was a port town. It was a harbor filled with pleasure-seeking, illicit kind of behavior. Ephesus, far more righteous and upstanding. And so the guidance Paul is going to be giving those churches is going to sound very different, but the message is actually the same. Let's fast forward that to 2026 America. There are actual news apps that advertise that they will give you 10 different sources for the same event so that you can hear it from all the different spaces, knowing who they're speaking to, so that hopefully you can get a sense of what the actual truth is. It is possibly more important than ever that we apply who to, and why, especially if I want to carry the label Christian in America in 2026 and actually represent Jesus. I can't afford to be tone deaf. And so I need to know as an observer when I am trying to receive a message from a communication, not only who is this person that's speaking, but who are they speaking to? Are they in fact judgmental and hateful? Or are they guilty of being a little bit tone deaf and not as thoughtful as they should be, which they probably would be if they realized that what they're saying was going to be broadcast over the internet. Whatever the case may be, we cannot afford, in the overload of information that we are all pumped with every day from every direction, we cannot afford to not be diligent if we actually want to be a reflection of God's image that we bear. If I want to be conformed to the image of Jesus, right? Like God who loved the earth so much that he gave up his deity and died on a cross for its sake. Like if I want to try to start to look like that dude, I best do my homework and know who is speaking, who they are speaking to, and, as we will discuss next time, why.